A very good evening. You're watching Primetime News on TV1. Bringing you the news this evening, I am Stevin Machado.
And I am Hashini Patirana. First up is a look at your headlines for tonight.
Indian Vice President concludes two-day official visit to Sri Lanka. 7 agreements, 6 announcements, major benefits. Anura Karunatilaka appointed Minister of Energy. Partali Champika Ranavika makes revelation on coal transactions. Iran signals displeasure, likely to skip second peace talks. All set for the global walk for peace as Venerable Panyakaratera and Aloka depart from the United States.
On to your top story tonight. Chinese President Xi Jinping has called for the normal passage of vessels through the Strait of Hormuz to be maintained. According to the state news agency Xinhua, this was communicated during a phone call with Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Xinhua reported Xi as saying that China advocates for an immediate and comprehensive ceasefire and insists on resolving conflicts in the Middle East through political and diplomatic channels.
Iran has signaled that it has no plans to send negotiators to Islamabad for a new round of talks with the United States, threatening Pakistan's plans for multi-day negotiations between the warring nations, less than 48 hours before a fragile ceasefire is set to expire. Iranian Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesman Ismail Bagheri said on Monday Washington had violated the ceasefire from the beginning of its implementation, citing the U.S. naval blockade of the Strait of Hormuz since 13th of April and the overnight capture of the Iranian container ship by the U.S. military as breaches of the truce as well as international law.
We have no agenda regarding this, and I can say nothing, and you know part of the contradiction that is all over the place. You know that America claim it is supporting diplomacy and it is ready, but at the same time America adopts certain steps and procedures that prove Washington is not serious in following and going through the path of diplomacy. Since the start of the ceasefire, we have faced the American side, if we want to be precise, because at the beginning the U.S. said this ceasefire in Lebanon is not part of the agreement, despite the fact we have said to the Pakistani mediator, and we have made it clear that ceasefire in Lebanon must be there. Then we faced the maritime blockade, and you have seen how the Americans have attacked an Iranian ship, and you have seen how the Americans have violated the ceasefire through putting a blockade on the ports, and this is against the international laws. America has insisted to commit these violations, these aggressive violations, and we can see that the lack of trust between both parties is quite there, because Iran doesn't trust the American side, and we should not do that. We will adopt the certain procedures to keep the national interests of Iran.
Pakistani officials said they remain cautiously hopeful that they can bring the two sides back to the negotiating table. Islamabad has been gearing up to host the second round of talks between the US and Iran aimed at ending their war. But officials acknowledged that rising tensions in recent hours have cast a cloud over the prospects of the negotiations. Meanwhile, Speaker of the Islamic Republic of Iran's parliament, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, also stressed that Iran's policy is a step-by-step action and one that expects commitment for commitment.
Our policy is also step-by-step action, commitment for commitment. They take one step, we take one step. It should not be the case that we fulfill our commitments while they do not. We have tried to proceed by taking into account past experiences, despite the prevailing atmosphere of distrust. The issue related to Hezbollah, and the issue related to those so-called frozen money must certainly be on the agenda for discussion before we enter negotiations. If we are to enter negotiations and these issues have not been resolved, we will not enter the 10-point framework. These must first be resolved before we proceed to that stage. There are currently several issues on which differences of opinion exist. They have certain views regarding the nuclear field, and certain views regarding matters related to the Strait and similar issues, while we, in any case, remain firm on our own positions. Of course, negotiations, without any doubt, the very purpose of negotiations is ultimately for the two sides to reach an understanding. However, for us, the fundamental point has been what we referred to earlier. Despite this lack of credibility, we have acted in good faith. Our aim has been to achieve a lasting peace that includes guarantees that this issue will not be repeated. Because the regime and the United States, particularly the regime, over the past 80 years have gone through cycles of war, ceasefire, peace, and war again, even within 14 months of a single year, it has recurred. This flawed loop must be broken.
The spokesman for Iran's Qatar Malanbia Central Headquarters warned that the latest act of piracy by US military forces against an Iranian trade vessel will soon be met with retaliation. His warning came after Iranian container vessel Tuska's sailing came under attack by US forces in the Gulf of Oman on Sunday night. The US Central Command said Tuska was headed to the Iranian port of Bandar Abbas and claimed that it ignored multiple US warnings over 6 hours to evacuate the engine room. The US president said the US Navy stopped the ship by blowing a hole in its engine room. Following the attack, Iranian military forces launched drone strikes toward several US military vessels in the area in response. The development comes amid a standoff in the Strait of Hormuz, a checkpoint for the shipment of about a fifth of the world's oil, amid threats from a US blockade on ships heading to and from Iranian ports.
Meanwhile, in an update from the escalating situation in the Middle East, the official death toll in Iran from the war has been updated to 3,375. Now, the official death toll in Lebanon, meanwhile, is a further 2,294. In more local news, Anura Karunatilaka was today sworn in as the Minister of Energy before President Anura Kumara Dissanayaka. The appointment was made by President Anura Kumara Dissanayaka, following which Anura Karunatilaka took his oath of office this afternoon at the Presidential Secretariat in the presence of the President. In addition to his portfolio as Minister of Energy, Anura Karunatilaka will also serve as the Minister of Ports and Civil Aviation. And moving on to more local news, former Minister Party lead Shampika Ranawaka today stated that he will fully disclose all facts related to coal transactions carried out since 2009. He said that all details would be revealed with names, leaving nothing concealed.
At the committee level, the Auditor General was instructed to submit a complete audit report on coal imports from 2009 to 2016. That audit report has now been submitted. Along with it, a large number of extremely important documents have been released as attachments. For those who selectively extract parts of our statements and fabricate misleading narratives, we will make the entire report publicly available. Not just the report, we will also disclose cabinet papers written by me, letters authored by me, and instructions issued by me to the Ceylon Electricity Board and other institutions. This matter has already been investigated by the Auditor General's Department, and that investigation must be the starting point. Its conclusions must be the foundation. Beyond that, during the good governance period, a presidential commission was appointed under the chairmanship of Justice Upali Aberatna. That commission is critical. The evidence leading for that commission was conducted by Ms. Ayesha Jinasena, who was then a senior officer of the Attorney General's Department and is now the Secretary to the Ministry of Justice. I possess the testimony that was given there. I myself gave oral evidence for several hours before that commission. However, the section of the commission report relating to the Ceylon Electricity Board has since been removed, clearly due to pressure from fraudulent racketeers. We demand that this removed section be published and tabled in Parliament. Furthermore, in 2012, without informing the Ministry or the CEB, the shipping corporation, along with several racketeers, imported coal outside the main contract. That coal was of inferior quality. We did not merely object, we acted to stop it. Ultimately, we resigned from the ministry and exposed this corrupt transaction. We revealed it through the book Alapalu Arthikaya and worked to remove that government. That is how we acted. At that time, a police investigation was conducted by the SIU and I personally gave evidence. That investigation must also be made public. A tender process that began in 2013 was awarded in late 2015. I wrote directly to President Sirasa stating that the tender should not be awarded, especially as Parliament had been dissolved from the 26th of June. A complaint was also filed by the JVP with the Bribery Commission. No one appeared to provide evidence except me. I gave evidence. The Bribery Commission can now revive that case. So let it be clear, this is not about nothing happened in the past. These things did happen. Start from there. During the severe economic and financial crisis of 2022 to 23, parliamentary committees again raised questions about coal and fuel imports. The Auditor General issued reports. All of this exists. To those who spread lies claiming nothing occurred in the past, I say this. We will not merely clean the mud thrown at us, we will expose those who threw it. I state today that everything related to these events since 2009, documents, cabinet papers, letters to presidents, public statements, struggles, and my two books, Power and Alapalu Arthikaya, will be released to the public through a dedicated online portal. Those who whisper here and slander there will then be compelled to answer. We answer to the people. Where necessary, we will take legal action. There is even the possibility that certain police officers may face charges under the penal code for attempting to conceal the coal fraud. We are actively identifying and investigating those individuals as well.
One fact is clear. In these transactions, billions of rupees in public funds have ultimately been used for the benefit of a small group. A fully empowered presidential commission has now been appointed. The commission is chaired by a serving Supreme Court judge, with 2 judges from the Court of Appeal and the High Court serving as members. Is it not now the responsibility of all those with knowledge to submit every relevant detail to this commission? Is it not their duty to ensure that the real perpetrators are identified and brought before the law? While investigations proceed into why coal purchased through tenders failed to meet quality standards, there must also be a thorough probe into the massive theft of public funds that was buried under past parliamentary debates. Such an inquiry would also expose the forces behind these transactions, forces that may still be operating today under different disguises. However, this cannot end as a report alone. Who committed the wrongdoing, whether it happened today, yesterday, or years ago, is irrelevant. Those responsible must be punished. That is the expectation of the people.
The Ceylon Petroleum Corporation has lodged formal complaints with the Ministry of Mass Media and the Telecommunication Regulatory Commission against an electronic media institution alleging serious and repeated irresponsible use of media that has caused significant harm to both the corporation and the country's economy.
The CPC alleges that the media institution, by grossly misusing media freedom, has disseminated false and misleading information, resulting in a damage to the reputation and operations of the corporation, as well as adverse consequences for the national economy. In its complaint, the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation states that such actions constitute a serious violation of accepted media standards and professional ethics. The corporation has therefore requested that the relevant authorities place the media institution under immediate regulatory supervision to address the alleged violations.
These are the views expressed by the Alut Piyapat organisation at a press conference held this morning.
Social media wala මිනිසුන්ට ඕන දෙයක් කරන්න බලනේ.
People can do whatever they want on social media, but that is not what a media outlet is. They cannot lie. Actually, what some media organizations are doing is not lying. They are creating a false narrative. We all know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. If someone comes and tells you that the sun rises in the west, you will deny it, saying that it is false. If media organizations keep telling you that the sun rises from the west, even though you know that the sun rises from the east, after a while, if someone comes and asks you whether the sun rises from the west, even if your mind says it is false, you will still have a little confusion about what the truth is. Some media institutions have the ability to negatively influence your thinking and the way you think. With this world crisis and the fuel crisis, there was a crude oil issue. As soon as the issue arose, the current government took some measures. They introduced the QR system and stabilized the situation. But these media outlets again brought up the issue that occurred in 2022, picked up microphones and cameras, and started going from petrol shed to petrol shed. After pushing those false narratives into the minds of the public continuously, the people became frightened. What people did was to rush to petrol stations and fill their tanks. Should this be allowed to happen like this? Who is responsible for the negative impact that these media outlets are creating on the minds of the people of this country?
බලපෑමෙන් මේ රටේ මිනිස්සුන්ට වෙන ඍණාත්මක බලපෑමේ චින්තනයට වෙන බලපෑමට වග කියන්නේ කවුද?
Speaking at a media briefing today, Samagi Janabalavege parliamentarian Sujiva Senasinghe said that although power cuts should be implemented, the government will not do so.
Under the current situation, if power cuts are to be carried out, they need to be done for more than 4 to 5 hours. However, this is not being done. These taxes are squeezing the necks of the people. Instead of working towards improving public infrastructure, they are using all the money generated to please the IMF and to implement the programs laid out by the IMF. By doing this, the government is trying its best to keep its head held high. Instead of cutting power, they keep on generating electricity by spending large sums of money on diesel.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa says there is a major plan in place to regain power. Questions are being raised over whether May Day celebrations will be jointly held by the Samagi Janabalavege and the United National Party. So, what exactly is unfolding within opposition politics?
Who is most suitable to lead opposition politics?
Mahinda Rajapaksa and Namal Rajapaksa arrived this morning at the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna headquarters on Nelumavda Batramulla, where they formally commenced work for the new year.
Rulers should take guidance from the leaders and kings of the past. If one governs with the belief that only they alone are the ruler, it will never succeed. I believe people can make mistakes, but they also have the ability to correct them and move forward again.
Several former ministers and MPs of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna were also present at the event.
අපි ඒක තියන්නේ නැහැ ඒ විදිහට. පින්කම් මාලාවක් කරනවා එදාට. එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයයි සමගි ජන බලවේගය එකට එකතු වෙලා මේ දිනේ සමරනවා කියලා කියනවා. අපි සමරන්නේ නැහැ. මේ පාර මේ දිනේ අපි පොයේ දවසකනේ. අපි සිල් ගන්නවා. අපි මීට පෙරත් අපි පක්ෂ දේශපාලන මණ්ඩලෙන් අපි තීන්දුවක් ගත්තා මෙවර පොයේ දිනයක් හින්දා මේ දිනේ අපි වෙනදා රැලියක් ආකාරයෙන් සමරන්නේ නැහැ කියන කාරණය.
සමර මරික්කාර් මන්ත්‍රීතුමා කියලා තිබුණා මේ පොදු ජන පෙරමුණ අල්ලලා පොළවේ ගහලා ඉවරයි ඒ නිසා තමයි මේ දිනේ පොය කියලා සමරන්නේ නැත්තේ බොරුවට එහෙම කතාවක්. ඒක ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෑ නේ තුමා බෞද්ධ නෙවෙයි. තුමාට පොය දවස් අදාළ වෙන්නේ.
SJB parliamentarian SM Marikar said yesterday that preparations are underway to celebrate May Day jointly with the United National Party.
විශේෂයෙන්ම එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයත් අපි ආරාධනා කරනවා එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයත් සමගි ජන බලවේගයත් ඒකාබද්ධව කරන පළමු රැළිය බවට මේ දිනේ පත්වෙයි කියලා මම විශ්වාස කරනවා.
However, another SJB MP expressed a contrasting view today.
Dates like May or June are not important to us. These are false claims. I do not make exaggerated statements. That is not who I am as a politician. We do not even know when such things will happen. We will manage politics according to the country's situation as it evolves.
What is the position of the United National Party? Senior party members shared their views today after commencing New Year activities at the Sirasa party headquarters.
දැන් කොහොමද දැන් දෙගොල්ලෝ එකතු වෙලා අවුරුදු කෑවනම් හොඳයි කියලා හිතෙන්නේ නැද්ද? මොකද්ද? දෙගොල්ලෝ එකතු වෙලා අවුරුදු කෑවනම් හොඳයි කියලා හිතෙන්නේ නැද්ද?
නෑ ඉතින් එහෙම ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෑ.
සිරම වෙන වෙනමද අවුරුදු කන්නේ? දැන් කවද්ද එකතු වෙන්නේ?
කාලා ඉවරයි දැන් තාම ඔයාලට අවුරුදුද? අපි නම් අවුරුදු කාලා ගොඩක් කල්.
දැන් මරික්කා මහත්තයා මේ පක්ෂ දෙකම එක්කහුවේ මේ දිනවල සමරනවා කියලා.
නෑ ඉතින් එතන නිල වශයෙන් එහෙම අපිට තාම ආරාධනයක් ලැබිලා නෑ සජ්ජයෙන් එහෙම එන්න කියලා. කෙසේ වුණත් අපි පුංචි වුණත් අපි අපේ අනන්‍යතාවය ආරක්ෂා කරගෙන අපි ඉදිරියට යන්න තමයි අපේ බලාපොරොත්තුව.
Meanwhile, the Sri Lanka Freedom Party also commenced work for the new year today. They expressed a different perspective on opposition leadership.
The Sri Lanka Freedom Party is a major party. At this moment, rather than immediately deciding who should lead or who should be at the forefront, our focus is on responding to future political developments. The SLFP has governed this country for the longest period. Therefore, we are considering the formation of an alliance under our leadership.
The two-day official visit of Indian Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan concluded today, marked by the signing of 7 memorandums of understanding and the announcement of 6 major initiatives beneficial to Sri Lanka. The Vice President departed Sri Lanka for India this afternoon from the Bandaranaike International Airport in Katunayake.
Earlier today, the Indian Vice President paid a visit to Nuwara. He visited the Linstead Diyanilla Suryakanti Estate Division in the Valapane Divisional Secretariat area, where he met plantation community workers and engaged in friendly discussions with them. Vice President Radhakrishnan also inspected a housing project comprising 166 houses, which was implemented with Indian financial assistance. The project was initiated in 2018 and handed over to beneficiaries in 2021.
உங்களுடைய நலனையெல்லாம் விசாரிச்சு வர சொல்லியிருக்காரு. அதெல்லாம் கேட்டுட்டு உங்களை எல்லாம் பார்த்துட்டு போறதுக்காக வந்திருக்கேன். ரைட்டா? உங்களை எல்லாம் உங்க இடத்துல பார்த்தது மிகுந்த மகிழ்ச்சி. போக்குவரத்து என்ன முயற்சியோ மந்திரி இருக்காரு, அவர் மந்திரி இருக்காரு, எல்லாரும் உங்களுக்காக பண்ணுவாங்க. சரியா? Thank you sir. Thank you sir.
Following this, the Indian Vice President visited the historic Sita Amman temple in the Sitaeliya area of Nuwara, where he participated in a special religious ceremony. During his stay in Sri Lanka, the Vice President held discussions with the President, the Prime Minister and leaders of the political opposition. According to a statement issued by the Indian Ministry of External Affairs, 6 memorandums of understanding were agreed upon during the visit, bringing a range of development benefits to Sri Lanka. These include the construction of a 4-storied medical ward complex at the District General Hospital in Mullaitivu, women empowerment via the establishment of Batik training centres in the Eastern Province, establishment of a premature baby unit at the base hospital in Dehiyattakandiya, and the construction of eye, ENT and mental health units at the base hospital in Muttur. Also included are initiatives for the establishment of contract farmer clusters. establishment of sustainable Ayurveda village, and the establishment of a ward complex at the Central Ayurvedic Dispensary in Gomarang, Kadavala. In addition, 6 significant announcements were made during the Vice President's visit. Announcements regarding extension of OCI eligibility up to the 6th generation of Indian diaspora and simplification of OCI process for the benefit of the Indian origin Tamil community. Announcement of completion of Indian Housing Project Phase 3, in which a total of 4,000 houses have been constructed for the benefit of plantation community families. Announcement of the resumption of train services on the restored Northern Railway line as a part of post-Ditwa rehabilitation package. Announcement of installation of a set of 3 Bailey bridges, 1 in the Central Province in Kandy and 2 in the Uva Province as a part of post-Ditwa rehabilitation package. Announcement of enhancement under CEWET or the Ceylon Estate Workers Education Trust scholarship for the benefit of students from estate communities. Announcement of Sri Lanka agreeing to join the India-led International Big Cat Alliance. With these agreements and announcements delivering tangible benefits to Sri Lanka, Indian Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan concluded his 2-day official visit and departed the country this afternoon.
Do you remember the global walk for peace that captured global attention, led by the Vietnamese Buddhist monk Venerable Panyakara Thera along with members of the Mahasangha, and carried a powerful message of non-violence to the world?
Well, all arrangements have now been completed to launch that Walk for Peace in Sri Lanka from the 22nd until the 28th of April. In parallel with the Walk for Peace, the Asadisa Puja will commence tomorrow at 3 p.m. at the sacred precincts of the Ruan Valley Mahasaya. The Maharaja Media Network is carrying out the full coordination of the global Walk for Peace.
Global Walk for Peace in the Island of Peace, Sri Lanka.
To participate in the Global Walk for Peace, scheduled to begin on the day after tomorrow, the Vietnamese Buddhist monk Venerable Panyakara Thera departed earlier today from the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport in Texas, United States, together with the certified service dog Aloka. Among the 12 Buddhist monks taking part in the Peace Walk, several, including Venerable Ratnasa Thera of Thailand, arrived in Sri Lanka in the early hours of last Friday. Venerable Panyakara Thera and the accompanying group travelling with Aloka are due to arrive in Sri Lanka in the early hours of tomorrow. Following their arrival, they are scheduled to proceed to the Attanagala Rajamaha Viharaya, where a media briefing will be held. Subsequently, Venerable Panyakara Thera and the accompanying group, together with Aloka, will travel to Anuradhapura to pay homage to the historic Jayashree Mahabodhi.
Arrangements have been made to extend a warm and respectful welcome to Venerable Panyakara Thera and to present him with a sapling of the sacred Sri Mahabodhi. Thereafter, he will proceed on foot, carrying the Bodhi sapling in a pilgrimage to the Ruan Valley Mahasaya. A religious observance will also be held there in conjunction with his arrival. If you have the time and are in the vicinity, we kindly and compassionately invite you to participate in these sacred occasions. May the Triple Gem bless everyone.
In parallel with the Global Walk for Peace, the Asadisa Puja will commence tomorrow at 3 p.m. at the Ruan Valley Saya premises.
Venerable Panyakara Thera from Vietnam is scheduled to arrive on the evening of the 21st to pay homage and receive blessings. Thereafter, he will receive a sapling of the sacred Bodhi tree from the Atamasthana Adhipati along with blessings. He will then proceed to the Ruan Valley Saya, where religious observances will be conducted, including offerings, while invoking prayers for world peace. These activities are being carried out under the guidance of the Atamasthanaadhipati and with the counsel and blessings of our chief prelates of the Swarnamali Mahachaitya. We invite the public to attend these sacred events in person wherever possible. Those who are unable to do so may follow and participate through the broadcasts of the Maharaja Media Network, which will air the events across Sri Lanka and around the world.
The Global Walk for Peace will officially commence on the morning of the 22nd of April. Following the morning almsgiving to the Mahasangha, the Global Walk for Peace will begin from the Dambulla Sacred Grounds, reaching Alavihara in Matale by evening. On the 23rd of April, the walk will resume from Alavihare and conclude at the Sri Dalada Maligava in Kandy. On the 24th of April, the Global Walk for Peace will once again commence from the Mahamalava of the Sri Dalada Maligava and is scheduled to reach the Beligammana Rajamaha Vihara in Kegol. On the 25th of April, the procession will continue from Beligammana Rajamaha Vihara to Tholangamu Central College. On the 26th of April, the Global Walk for Peace will proceed from Tholangamu Central College to the Yakkala Chandajoti Vihara. On the 27th of April, the walk will begin from Yakkala Chandajoti Vihara and conclude at the Kalaniya Rajamaha Vihara. On the 28th of April, the procession will depart from Kalaniya Rajamaha Vihara and arrive at Independence Square by 4 p.m, where the sapling of the Sri Mahabodhi is scheduled to be formally handed over by President Anura Kumara Dissanayaka to the visiting Mahasangha from the United States in a diplomatic ceremonial event.
Strict attention is being paid to security arrangements. Because of this, members of the public will not be able to meet the monks as usual or make offerings in the customary manner. However, you may participate by gathering at overnight resting locations, at places where alms are received, at meeting venues along the route, and especially at locations such as Kalaniya and Gangaramya, where you can come together and express your participation. Many devotees wish to make offerings, but due to security reasons and the fast-paced nature of the peace walk, there will be no opportunity to stop and accept offerings along the road or at other locations during the march. This is because the program is tightly scheduled and movement will be continuous. However, after the 28th, we will be staying at the Gangaramya for 3 days, during which time devotees who wish to make offerings may do so. It should be noted that none of these offerings will be taken to the United States by the monks. Keeping this in mind, you are free to participate in a manner that is convenient to you while strictly adhering to the rules and regulations set out by the government security authorities.
The Global Walk for Peace will conclude with a procession from Independence Square, passing the head office of the Maharaja Media Network and finally arriving at Gangaramya Temple, marking the official conclusion of the historic peace journey.
Move forward, Sri Lanka.
The central bank presented its 2025 economic review to the president today.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka today presented its annual economic review 2025 and financial statements and operations 2025 reports to the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, President Anura Kumara Dissanayaka at the Presidential Secretariat. The two reports were formally handed over to the President by the Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. P. Nandalal Veerasinghe. According to the Central Bank's flagship publication, the Annual Economic Review 2025, the Sri Lankan economy has further strengthened the progress achieved in previous years, supported by the continued maintenance of macroeconomic stability and the implementation of ongoing policy and structural reforms. The report notes that despite growing global uncertainties arising from trade and geopolitical developments, as well as adverse weather conditions and natural disasters experienced towards the latter part of 2025, domestic economic activity demonstrated resilience. The review further highlights that improved macroeconomic conditions and increased policy stability have enhanced investor confidence, strengthening the country's ability to build economic buffers to better withstand shocks and laying the foundation for sustained economic growth. The People's Bank, Bank of Ceylon, the National Savings Bank today presented their 2025 annual reports to President Kumara Dissanayake at the Presidential Secretariat, with all three state-owned banks reporting record-breaking financial performances. The presentations were made by the respective chairpersons of the banks, Chairman of the People's Bank, Professor Narada Fernando, Chairman of the Bank of Ceylon, Kavinda de Soisa, and Chairman of the National Savings Bank, Dr. Harsha Cabral, formally handed over the reports to the President at the occasion. Speaking at the event, Professor Narada Fernando stated that the People's Bank recorded the highest profit in its history in 2025, amounting to 64.4 billion rupees before tax and 40 billion rupees after tax. Meanwhile, Chairman of the Bank of Ceylon, Kavinda de Soisa, said the bank achieved the highest profit in its 87-year history in 2025, recording a pre-tax profit of 120.8 billion rupees while contributing 77 billion rupees in taxes to the government. Chairman of the National Savings Bank, Dr. Harsha Cabral, stated that the bank recorded its highest ever pre-tax profit of 59 billion rupees in 2025 and also contributed 6 billion rupees in dividends to the treasury. The chairpersons collectively noted that these achievements were made possible through the well-planned implementation of government policies and a high level of financial discipline. They also acknowledged the significant contribution and support of bank staff in securing these results.
Tsunami warnings have been lifted after a strong earthquake struck northern Japan. However, tsunami advisories are still in effect.
The Japan Meteorological Agency has issued an alert for a potential mega-quake following the magnitude 7.7 quake on Monday. The agency says residents in 7 prefectures should prepare for disaster and listen for any updates. Officials say there is an increased probability of a mega-quake along 2 deep-sea trenches in the Pacific Ocean. The alert covers 182 cities and towns from Hokkaido to Chiba. The Japan Meteorological Agency issued tsunami warnings of Iwate Prefecture and Pacific coasts of Hokkaido and Aomori prefectures in the Monday afternoon. Tsunami up to 3 meters high were expected, but the warnings have been lifted. Tsunami advisories are still in effect in parts of Hokkaido, Aomori, Iwate, Miyagi and Fukushima prefectures. The water may reach up to 1 meter in those areas. The agency raised the scale of the quake from magnitude 7.5 to 7.7 that occurred off the coast of Sanriku, Iwate prefecture at 4:52 p.m. and had an intensity of upper 5 on the Japanese scale of 0 to 7 in the hardest hit areas. The quake is estimated to be 19 kilometers deep. Long tremors that could rock high-rise buildings have been recorded in Tohoku. Over 170,000 residents ordered to evacuate. The government says over 171,957 residents in Hokkaido, Aomori, Iwate, Miyagi and Fukushima prefectures had been ordered to evacuate as of 6:45 p.m. on Monday. Tokyo Electric Power Company says it's confirmed there are no abnormalities at its Fukushima Daiichi and Fukushima Daini nuclear plants. The operator also says there's been no change in radiation levels around the sites.
In the latest update coming in from the conflict in the Middle East, foreign media is reporting that US President Donald Trump has said that it is highly unlikely that he would extend a 2-week ceasefire with Iran if a permanent deal is not reached by Wednesday. Trump said that he will not be rushed into making a bad deal as the US has all the time in the world, adding that bombings would start once again if a deal is not reached by Wednesday. Stay tuned to Newsfirst digital platforms for the ever-developing situation on the multiple fronts in the Middle East.
Newsfirst with the people.
Up next is Corporate Brief. Keikis Academy officially inaugurated its Global Hospitality Campus yesterday in Kandy, marking a significant milestone in its expansion into the hospitality education sector. The event was graced by former Director General of the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority and prominent Sri Lankan hotelier P.H.R. Sarifordin, alongside notable Sinhala telecinema artists, students, lecturers and other distinguished guests. Established in 2016, Keikis Academy has earned a reputation as a pioneer in delivering high-quality vocational training on cake baking and decorating, pastry and bakery, as well as commercial cookery programs.
A media conference was held today to furnish details of St. Thomas's College rugby team that will participate in the upcoming Inter-School League Rugby Tournament 2026.
The press conference was held today under the patronage of Warden of St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia, Asanka Pereira. The event saw a large gathering including its sub-warden, Dr. Radhika Mendes, members of the College Rugby Development Committee, players, students and sponsors. The official media sponsor of the St. Thomas's College Mount Lavinia rugby team, which is participating in this year's Inter-School League Rugby Tournament, is Yes FM. With the aim of enhancing school rugby, Yes FM will be making a special contribution towards the St. Thomas's College rugby team. Channel head of Yes FM, Manilal Fernando, also participated at the event. The team's first match of this year's Inter-School League Rugby Tournament is scheduled to be held on the 24th of April against Thurston College, Colombo.
And with that, we wrap up Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Good night.